Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to start a new group of videos dealing with some geometric figures, and the one we're looking at today is volumes of prisms and cylinders. Alright, so what is volume? Well, volume is the space inside a solid figure. Alright, now if you think about what area is two-dimensional, volume is then three-dimensional. So this is the space inside. And when we measure this, we measure in what's called cubic units. So if it's feet, it's going to be feet cubed. If it's inches cubed, and etc. Okay, now we've got a few different figures we're going to look at today. The first one is what's called a prism. Now a prism can follow a couple different shapes. You've got a triangular prism, a rectangular prism. So we're going to look at both of those based on this formula. It says the volume of the prism is the area of the base times the height of the prism. Now what you have to understand is the base is something you guys have all seen before. If we're talking about a rectangle, that area is length times width. If we're talking about a triangle, the area is 1/2 base times height. So you have to basically take that into account first and then use that as your big B here and solve that out. So we've got volume equals base times height. Alright, so for the first prism we're looking at is this triangular prism. Now notice you got triangles on both ends. And they are connected by those sides. Okay, that's what creates the prism. So because this is a triangular prism, we're going to look at one of these and consider it the base. So the base in this case could be, this front end. If I were to take that thing and tip it up, that could be my base. Alright, so with that, we've got what appears to be a right triangle as my base. So for that, I find the area. Well, the area of the base is 1/2 times the base times the height. So big base is equal to 1/2 times 12 times 10. Well, 1/2 plus 12 is 6, times 10 is 60. So I've got 60 for my base there. Now, we take that and we multiply by its height. So again, if you were to take this thing and sit it up on its side, you're going to have the height of 11. So you take 60 and you multiply that by 11, that ends up being 660. Now, we've got units, which are centimeters, and this thing is always cubed, so your volume there would be 660 centimeters cubed. Alright, now on this second figure, we've got a rectangular prism. Okay, so the bases appear to be squares, and then you've got a side that goes up. So not quite a cube, but a rectangular prism. Now, what you should notice is this side is 12 and this side is 12. Since those are rectangular prisms, that would tell you that this side here in blue is also 12, or this side here in blue is also 12. So because of that, I'm just going to relabel this one over here 12 as well. So I'm going to use this front face and consider that my base. So my base for the prism would be 12 times 12, and then I multiply that by my height, which is 20. So you take 12 times 12 times 20, and you end up with 2,880. This is inches cubed, and there you go. Now this is a rectangular prism. Sometimes you'll see the volume of that as length times width times height, and that's the same thing. This base times height up here that I'm circling in red is just a generality. You can use that for the triangular or the rectangular. But that rectangular prism is also known as length times width times height. Alright, now the next thing we're going to look at is a cylinder. Okay, now a cylinder involves a circle on the base. Okay, so that's where this thing changes slightly. So the volume is still the base times the height. That doesn't change at all. But the base, like I said, is a circle. Okay, so we've got to use the area of the circle to figure that out. Now the area of a circle is pi r squared. And right here in this volume formula, you can see where that pi r squared is. And that's the base, essentially. The h is your height, so the full formula for the volume is pi r squared h. So pi r squared h. Alright, so let's look at these. So I've got this figure down here. My r is my radius. It's 8 centimeters. My height is 15. And that's enough information for this. So the volume would be pi times r, which is 8 squared, times 15. Now when you're multiplying this through, go ahead and multiply the pi in as well. So you go 8 squared times 15, that gives you 960. You multiply that by pi, And your volume for this cylinder would be 3015.93, and we're looking at centimeters cubed, and there's your final volume. Now for this last one, I'm going to have you guys try this on your own, but I want you to notice something. That 9 is not the radius anymore, that's the diameter. So think about what you've done in the past with diameters and radius. See if you can figure this one out. So pause the video, come back once you're finished, and we'll talk about it. Alright, so hopefully you guys had some time to work this one out. So for this one, we've got volume equals 1/2, take that back, pi r squared h. So you've got pi. Now the r is where we had that question. Now the r is half of the diameter. So if our diameter is 9, half of that's 4.5. So our radius is 4.5, and then we square it, and then we multiply that by 6. So you've got pi times 4.5 times 6. So we take those, we multiply that all together. That gets you 381.70 for rounding to the 100th spot, inches cubed, and there's your solution. All right, hopefully that made some sense. That's looking at volumes of prisms and cylinders. If you have any questions, let me know, contact me. Otherwise, good luck on your assignment. Talk to you soon.